Okay. Good morning, beloveds. Dante is sitting over here, staring out the window. It's cats. I don't know. The routine has been a little weird for all week. I got sent home early from work on Monday because a tornado came through and took our power out. The store's fine. Everybody's houses are fine. Well, that I know. Yeah, there was some damage. Tuesday was normal, but we went to the movies. Which if you have the opportunity to go see Rental Family, I highly recommend it. Rental Family starring Brendan Fraser. It was amazing. Wednesday, we worked a half day, but then I drove to Giddings and back. That's a 2-hour drive one way. Yesterday was Thanksgiving. I turned my alarm off and got up around 9. And so the cats are kind of like, and then this morning, normally on Fridays, my alarm goes off at 7:30. Well, it went off at 6 because Tom is working out at the Renaissance Festival today. So I got up to help him get out, and then I went back to bed once he left. So, yeah. So the cats are kind of like, what's happening here? And then next week should be pretty normal. And then the week after that, well, all bets are off that week. So, simply because I'm going to be on vacation that week. So, I will still do the things. I just don't know when I will do them. So I'm not taking a week off from doing that. I just noticed how my glasses kind of need to be cleaned. I also was smart enough because I read the Emma chapter 4 yesterday. Like I pre-programmed this for this morning. So that was helpful. All right. Oh, I don't know why I'm putting them on. So we are doing Your Spiritual Power. We are in Living Without Fear. So let's do the housekeeping. And all the housekeeping is me reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. Website is creativelife.org. Constant contact email, info@creativelife.org. That will get you 1 email a week unless something unusual happens. I say we live in hurricane country. The hurricane season is almost over. December 1st, I believe, is when it's over. The 2 weather events that have been problems this season have not had anything to do with hurricanes. So here we are. But that would be the only reason you would get another one. Now, the hot links are hot, meaning, did I say that it tells you what's going on for the week and the month? The hot links are hot. If it says click here now, it means it'll take you right to the information on the person that can help you get it. Because sometimes it's an email. And then, it's a blind CC. Nobody will see your email. You won't end up on anybody else's email list because of us. So that's very important. Now, the last thing I mentioned is the social medias, and I only mention them because we do not monetize them. We don't want to deal with the ads any more than you do. So what we ask you to do instead is go engage with the individual pages. So like, subscribe, follow, based on which platform it is. And then engage with the individual posts by reacting to the post, commenting on the post, sharing the posts. It bumps us in the algorithms. More people see our stuff. So it is a free and easy way you can support the center. So there is that. All right. Now, this is an inspirational collection, or Reverend Norm would call it a library. What it is a collection of Ernest Holmes works that were not readily available. They weren't found a lot of places. Maybe they were published once and maybe had a small run. So what this is a collection of that work. What we are working on is Living Without Fear. And that turns out to be a collection of Ernest Holmes' early Science of Mind magazines articles, which is really cool. Discover a Richer Life was the same thing, but it explains why the articles are written the way they are. Because they were published in the magazine. So it's more like a one-on-one conversation with Ernest, which I really, really enjoyed. So that is, we are in part 2, Growing from Fear to Freedom. And today our title is Practical Thinking. All right. Practical thinking. We all wish for better health, greater happiness, and a larger experience in living. There is a spirit in us which desires to be more fully expressed through us. This spirit is conscious life as opposed to or different from law and its mechanical action. Humanity's consciousness of its own existence is the self-recognition of the spirit within them. We do not see the spirit, but we feel its presence. We see its manifestations in all our actions. Without it, we could neither act nor be conscious of ourselves or of anything else. In reality, a person's spirit is their share of that universal presence in which we all live, move, and have our being. Hence, the spirit of a person is the spirit of God in that person. Or you could say it this way. Hence, the spirit of humanity is the spirit of God in humanity. The two are really one, and it is this inner spirit which wishes to become more fully expressed through us. The action of spirit flowing through our mentalities is the law of our life. To use science of mind successfully, one should be conscious of the indwelling spirit operating through their own thought, will, and purpose. They should realize that the movement of their consciousness of God in and through them is a reality. Apart from the one knower, there is no knowledge, and separated from the one life, there is no real living. Humanity's mind is ever in contact with omniscience, but their consciousness does not always know this. Hence, they remain ignorant of that which they inwardly and subjectively know, but does not bring to the point of consciousness. And see, that's kind of important. It's like, you know, but you don't, but you don't know that you know. So you've got this like itch inside, and you're like trying to figure out what the itch is, and that spirit trying to get your attention, but you're not paying attention because you are not conscious of the inner life. Let's see. One should feel that the inner spirit knows, and that, because this is true, one's objective mind knows. In this way, they are led to the right paths, into the right paths of human activity, for human activity, rightly conceived, is divine. There is but one knower, and what this one knows must be and is so. And this is true when this one knows through what we call the mind of humanity. The question might arise at this point. Suppose a person should know something which contradicts the truth. The answer would be humanity cannot really know anything that contradicts the truth. They may suppose something which is not true. They can assume the opposite of reality, but they cannot know that which is not so. Okay. For instance, we might believe that 2 and 2 make 5, but they would still make 4. There is a great difference between believing and knowing. We can believe anything. We can know only that which is true. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Our troubles come not from wrong knowing, but from wrong believing. They are misconceptions about what is true. One of the intellectual difficulties which we must overcome is our apparent inability to realize that there is an ultimate truth, and this truth operates through our own mind in its native and original being and power. But our perception of the truth is an act of consciousness, as it is the inner perception which must recognize the spirit. That's something we're thinking about. Okay. In practice, we start with this premise. The truth is and is perfect wherever we find it. Being omnipresent, it is where we are. where everyone is, and in and through all things. God is in and through its creation, and the creation of God, rightly viewed, must be perfect. Now, side note here, if you, like me, have trigger words, perfect is a trigger word for me, okay? Well, not so much anymore, but it was. Perfect absolutely made me crazy because that word was weaponized growing up. Okay. One of the gifts that Reverend Jesse has given me is a new definition of perfect. One of the things that he said to me, he reminded me, perfect doesn't mean flawless. Perfect means whole. And because it means whole, it means the messiness gets to be included too. Okay. So if you have a trigger word, maybe you want to go back and look at what the actual definition of the word is, not the weaponized version of the word. Because Ernest uses perfect a lot. And with it being a trigger word for me, I don't want to sit here and twitch and, cry. So that's one of the gifts that of going back and looking at your trigger words and seeing what they actually mean, not what they have been weaponized to mean in your life. Okay. So, if perfect is a trigger word for you, remember that definition. It means whole, not flawless. The messiness gets to be included too. Okay. The sum total of human knowledge comes to us through some avenue of self-knowing faculties. We gain knowledge through science, opinion, and intuition. Science is the result of careful investigation and tabulation of facts, causes, and conditions. Much, but not all, of our knowledge is acquired in this manner. Intuition is a direct perception of the knowing faculty without data, procedure, or any process of reasoning whatsoever. Our greatest truths come through this avenue. Opinions are our personal ideas about which intuition gathers and science guarantees. Opinion is the least of the avenues of knowledge. And I will remind you what they say about opinions. Everybody has one. It doesn't mean they're all right. It is interesting to observe at this point that while the real intuitive perception of the ages have remained unchanged and are unchallenged by any idea to the contrary, opinions are in a constant state of flux. This does not invalidate the findings of science nor overlook the value of opinions. Of course, the principles of any science, rightly interpreted, cannot change because they are based on immutable laws, and laws do not come and go. They are eternal verities and may be absolutely relied upon, like gravity. Okay? We can't switch gravity on and off based on our opinion. Never mind. I'm just thinking, but in the Space Center, they probably can switch gravity off and on. But that's neither here nor there, and that's just a rabbit hole I'm not going to go down right now. As scientific research, with its continual new evidence, draws us nearer and nearer to basic reality, our opinions change to meet the new facts, and our intuition is opened to receive newer and greater truths. Thus do the three paths of knowledge combine to lead us on to a greater good. And I guess, I believe it's nice that he's saying opinion has a purpose. We just need to make sure that we are using it thoughtfully. Or consciously. He would say consciously. The highest opinion of the deepest thinkers of all ages have agreed that we live in a spiritual universe governed by exact laws. A true philosophic outlook by science will not contradict this position, and the intuitive faculty, when clearly operative, will add its testimony to the same fact. Okay. The spiritual universe is an intelligent organization bespeaking a universal intelligence running through everything. Our own intelligence perceives this as an ultimate necessity, and when our intelligence perceives it as an ever-present fact, we are practicing science of mind. The practice of science of mind, then, is the exercise of the knowing faculties of the mind functioning on the plane of self-recognition and must ever be considered from this viewpoint. Okay. So there's this thing called the elevator speech, and it's like you have as long as you are in the elevator to convince somebody of something. That's kind of a good sentence to add to your elevator speech if you have one. The practice of science of mind, then, is the exercise of the knowing faculties of the mind functioning on the plane of self-recognition. Of course, then you're going to have to explain that, but it's a good place to start. It is impossible to separate the mental from the spiritual. The two are one. God is spiritual awareness, whether we think of this awareness as in the mind of humanity or in the infinite reaches of the universal mind. The truth is not broken into fragments, but remains one unitary wholeness. In the application of science of mind, one should be aware that they are using original divine power and that they are using it as definite law. It is not the law of their mind, but the law of the one mind, and this should not be forgotten. Okay, well, if it should not be forgotten, I'm going to highlight it. They should not feel that they are compelling any reluctant power to do their bidding, but that they are using a natural law in a natural way. The practical use of science of mind is a spontaneous recognition of the ever-present spirit. And a deep spiritual awareness does give one a greater ability to heal and to help. Spiritual mind treatment requires a belief on the part of the individual that the words of their treatment are law unto that which they are directed, or then they should act as though their belief is true. They do this in a perfectly normal way, starting with the premise that spirit is universal and the perfect presence filling all space, molding every creation and animating every form with intelligent energy. Spirit is the intelligent life principle running through all. It is kind of important that if you're going to give a treatment, that you believe the words that you are speaking. Okay, one needs to seek a sense of the perfection of the divine presence and to substitute this knowing for ideas of disease, poverty, or discord. In doing this, they must often confront negative thoughts with the declaration that there is no necessity for the continuance of a condition contrary to the fundamental good. Okay, see, he says confront that there's no necessity for the continuation of the condition. We acknowledge that there is a condition. We just say that you don't need the condition, that you can let the condition go. So occasionally science of mind is accused of being airy-fairy. Oh, well, this is not no, you're really experiencing something. But what we're saying is you don't have to. You can choose a different way. All right. When the objective belief in and the subjective image of any given trouble is neutralized by the realization of good, the condition is met and a healing takes place. There is nothing which can hinder the law from working. It is never a question of how much the law will work, but always of how well we can use it. There's always a caveat. We can constructively use it to the degree our thought and belief will let us, no further, but always as far. The principle is infinite, but we are only as capable as we know ourselves to be. We can know ourselves to be capable only insofar as we are unified with truth. Thus does the impersonal become personal. Spiritual mind treatment, prayer, is more than an act of the intellect. It is an act of one's whole being. a complete giving of oneself to the realization of perfection as being an ever-present fact in everyday experience. It carries with it a spiritual sense which cannot be put into words, but which must be felt. And that's why we say you got to combine the head and the heart. It is emotion plus intellect. It is thought plus feeling. If you don't feel it, it's not likely to work. I'm not saying it won't, but the more feeling you can put into it, the better it will work. That's why you always want to be careful with the words you use when you are being held by strong emotions. The thought and the intellect have a definite and a necessary function in spiritual mind treatment, but the final effect of necessity must and can only be the result of an inner realization that is stronger than the belief which caused the disease or discord. Conviction reaches its own level just as water does. This is a natural law in the spiritual world. All laws are natural and all causes are spiritual. To be spiritually minded is our natural impulse towards reality. It is normal and should be spontaneous. To be spiritually minded is to believe in the presence of spirit and to trust in its intelligent response to us in accord with law. Spirit is but another name for life. To be spiritually minded, then, is to completely believe in life and in the responsiveness of life to the aspiration of the human soul. We should ever endeavor to sense this universal presence, and time should be spent in bringing our consciousness to this recognition. For this is the power that heals and remolds according to a more divine pattern. Okay, what he just said there is regular spiritual daily practice. Regular daily spiritual practice. You can use the words in any order. You know what I'm talking about. Like, do it every day. Do it every day. Whenever we contact any objective evidence which denies the perfect presence and the perfect law, we should consider it as an appearance only and not a part of reality. Remember that thoughts are things and that an idea can be erased by denial or by the affirmation of another idea. We must ever strive to cause our thoughts to rise above the level which produced the discord we seek to heal if we are to be successful in spiritual mind treatment. Ooh, deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. We will always find that insofar as we do recognize the perfect and the harmonious, it will appear, no matter what the evidence to the contrary may be. Again, we are brought back to the fundamental principle of science of mind. God is perfect, and is all. We should know that behind every manifestation, there is the essence of perfection, which, although it may not now appear, can be permitted to flow through it. We need to go beyond the physical vision, clarify the mind, and purge the subjective concepts. Insofar as we are able to do this, the rewards of our spiritual mind treatment will be certain. Well, some disaster just happened in my house because I just heard a loud noise and the two kittens just came running through. So I'm going to finish this up and go find out what just happened. Okay. Insofar as we are able to do this, the rewards of our spiritual mind treatment will be certain. Behind the apparent is the real. And when this real is sensed, the apparent more easily measures up to it. To successfully use prayer or spiritual mind treatment, we do not withdraw from life, but enter into all legitimate human activities with enthusiasm, realizing that the law fundamental to all creation should give joy in the everyday affairs of life. He's not asking us to become hermits, which is good. The humble expression, the humble is exalted. Each thing has its place in the divine order, and the expression of happiness in the individual life is as essential to the divine being as is the manifestation of the glories of the heavens surrounding us. Okay. The expressions of happiness are as important. That's good to know. In the vast panorama of life, we behold the eternal energy of mind set in motion through divine imagery and manifesting itself in all creation. Thus, and thus alone, is the spirit manifest on this or any other plane. The budding rose, the flowering tree, the corn ripe for harvest, the child at play, the surging tide, the saint kneeling before the altar of their faith are all manifestations of the one life, one presence, one power. And there it is. Practical thinking. And tomorrow we get to do the power of right thinking, but practical thinking. Science of mind is meant to be practical. It is meant to be used in our everyday affairs. It's meant to be used no matter what is going on. It is not reserved for that hour on Sunday. It is useful for anything and everything that we would want to put our minds to. I remember one time I had a session with a prac student, and that's what I said. It's like, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, because spirit knows no big or small. And also, you don't have to go to a prac session with a problem. Maybe everything's going really well and you just want more of that. You don't have to use spiritual mind treatment just for problems. You can use them to increase your good. In fact, that's the best use for spiritual mind treatment. This is good and I want more of it. This is love and I want more of that. That's the best practical use of spiritual mind treatment. But it is also very useful when things aren't going the way we want them to be. So practice it always. Always and regularly, and watch your life change in amazing ways. All right. I do need to go find out what that crash was. So I'm going to wrap this up by encouraging you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day, a take care of business day. Let's wrap this week up day, as weird as it's been day, a you got this day, and do something for yourself day, and make sure you drink plenty of water day, a maybe bundle up because it's a bit nippy out there today, and there's weather coming day, so take your preparations day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. You are enough just as you are. You're a beloved expression of the divine. You are a brilliant light, divine spark, spirit in motion, God in action, a beautiful masterpiece, and a work in progress at the same time at your own pace. And as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you're godly. Explore the truth of your being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be, because the divine knows you to be good. It's all the divine knows. And from there, anything is possible. All right, beloveds. Tomorrow is Saturday. It is the last Saturday of Renaissance Festival, so I will not do this tomorrow, but I will pick this up on Sunday. So I'll be here on Sunday. Just a heads up there. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. And on Sunday, I should do this around 8:45. Because I like to do it when I come home from gym and then I go deal with this mess. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved.